Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Content Systems for Growth podcast. Today, I have with me Lana. She is a mom of four, a visibility strategist, and a cold pitch expert who helps entrepreneurs get seen without relying on social media algorithms. And we all would like that, right? She teaches service providers how to actually land dream opportunities and grow their business with confidence and true connection. So, everybody, welcome Lana. Well, Lana, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
So excited
I,
to be here.
yeah. And I know this is going to be such a popular topic because you've built your business while you raise four kids. So
Hmm.
I know there's going to be people very curious how you can manage to raise four kids and build a business at the same time. So do you want to just give us a little insight into what actually has been the success for your business, how you got started, what led you into cold pitching, because that's what we're talking about today as your focus for your actual business and the services that you provide.
I have gone all over the place, to be honest with you. My business has just been all over the place. But I started in summer of 2019. I was married at the time with just two kids. It started out just wanting to find myself again after motherhood. We get lost in it and we don't really have our identity anymore outside of mom. And I just wanted to bring in some extra money. So it first started just extra income, kind of giving me something to do, but I think I was being prepared for something later. So fast forward to December of 2021, and that's when I found myself a single mom of four. My twins, who are four now, they just turned four, they were born in October of 2021. So when I became a single mom of four, they were literally 3 months old. And I decided I just needed to take it serious because I wanted to be able to stay at home with them. So I just had first anything I could do, threw myself into it. It started out offering whatever I could offer. It was crazy now that I think about it, but at that time, you're just wanting to make whatever income you can make. I was doing copywriting, ghostwriting, content creation, graphic design, web design, anything I could offer that I thought would have some sort of money growth behind it. I am lucky though. I still have two clients to this day that found me in June of 2019, and I still work with them. And I can't imagine it. I still do social media for them. I would not do social media, taking on new clients, doing social media anymore. I do it with them. I will continue to do it with them. But now I am just doing cold pitching. But it definitely found me, which we could talk about now or we could talk about later. It's a pretty interesting story. Do you want me to go ahead and share it now? Because I know it might lead into another question later. But
Yeah, yeah, go
okay.
for it.
And it includes
Absolutely.
you, actually. It is a huge full circle moment. But so I was a single mom of four and I was doing okay until about December of 2023. And that's when some of my clients had to cut their hours. I think it was just a hard time being holidays, and it was just a hard time in that general time for entrepreneurs, anyways, from what I remember. And we were struggling. I was still going through the divorce. I was having an attorney that needed money from me. It felt like every month, it felt like. And when I say struggling, I mean, I was going to food banks from my local churches twice a month to get food for my kids and I. And I say that because I feel like what I've always wanted to do is not make that a something that you should be ashamed of, because I know there's people out there, like you said, that might be wanting to build their own business or start their own business and they're a struggling mom. So I'm just throwing that out there, not out of needing poor me or sympathy, but it's possible. You can do whatever you want to do. It just takes some hard work, lots of prayer, and just believing in it, because that month I was scared. I was literally at a point where if I lost one client, rent would probably not be paid. And I was still living with my mom at the moment, but I was wanting to find my own place. Nothing against my mom, but I wanted my own place for my kids and I to build a home and to give them some consistency. And I didn't know what else to do. So I'd already reached out to my clients that I still had. They had already cut my hours. They didn't know of anyone that was needing anything at the time. So I was just checking my email one day, and then, how we do, we subscribe to all these emails and we think nothing about it. And Heather Ferris, her name popped up. And I was like, you know what? She always ends her emails with, if you have any questions, message me. So there were six people, and she was one of them that I responded to. And I sent out an email and I was brutally honest. And I look back and I think maybe it was too much, but I have no regrets about it. But I started it out and I said, I am a single mom of four. I am struggling. This is what I can offer you. I want to teach my kids that anything is possible. So I'm taking a leap. I heard back from one. I heard back from Heather. And she didn't want to hire me for any of the services that I offered. She said, I want to hire you for what you just did. I want to hire you to cold pitch for me. And I was like, what? I didn't even really realize what I had done. I just sent out an email. I didn't realize there was a term at that point. And so January, I started working with her. And then in October of 2024, we did our cold pitching workshop together. I owe her so much. She hosted it. She's helped me through it. She's still a client of mine. And then she was a guest because of cold pitching. She was a guest recently on your podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
then now I'm a guest on your podcast. And I just think it's amazing. In 2 years, or almost 2 years, I would have never thought that I'd be where I am right now. But it's just a full circle and I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I'm so grateful for her. But it
Yeah.
just it proves that there's that one email. Like it all it takes is one connection, one email, and you have no idea. You have no idea what could come of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. It's those leaps of faith where you put yourself out there, do something a little bit scary. I don't know if this is right. I don't know. Is this the right direction? I always call it throwing stones. Like I
Mhm.
throw a stone to see if I can hear it land and go, oh, yep, that's the direction God wants me to go in
I
for sure.
love that. Throwing stones. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. That's what I would call your cold pitching is throwing some stones out there to see
Hmm.
what direction and who God wants you to connect with. That's
And I
awesome.
think sometimes you have to find yourself in pretty desperate, like, sometimes I'm not for everybody, but for me, I had to find myself in that desperate moment to be able to let fear not matter. And again, as a mom, you're a mom. I was worried more so for my kids. I may not have even been wanting to take a leap if it had just been me. But
Mhm.
when it comes to you thinking about your kids, that sort of stuff doesn't matter. You do what you got to do. You just do
Mhm.
it. You
Mhm.
just find a way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you have that drive and that determination, like you said, you want to show your children this is what happens when you follow your dreams. Anything is actually possible if you just keep at it and you don't give up. And maybe sometimes you have to have a plan B in your back pocket that you go after, but just keep moving forward to what you dream and what you have on your heart.
And it's not easy. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, it was easy. And I'm not saying there wasn't a ton of like all night working, especially when the kids were younger. You had asked like how you do it, how you built it. Sometimes when they're younger, you have to pull all nighters. Now, not so much anymore. I'm able to keep them busy. My two oldest ones are in school. My 4-year-old, they're twins, so they play with each other a lot. So I'm able to keep them busy. But in the beginning, you work when you can work. And sometimes that's 2 or 3 in the morning.
Mhm.
So I don't want to sugarcoat it and tell anybody that's thinking about it that it's going to be simple and easy because it's not. But I can tell you that you'll have moments where you're like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. You'll have moments where you're like, okay, I'm on the right track. And you'll have those moments where you know that it's worth it and you know that you're doing something that you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, for sure. You get those God winks where you're like, oh, yep, this is right. This is exactly where I need to be. You worked with Heather. So, what does that visibility look like for you now? And how has your pitching then changed or played a role in your growth?
I still do cold pitching emails for myself when I'm meeting clients or when I have some open space on my schedule. But a lot of mine has still been, and it's been this way since I started, it's word of mouth and reputation. I have never paid for ads. If I had financially been able to, I might have. I don't know that that would have changed my trajectory at all, but I have never had to pay for ads. Mine has always been emails and word of mouth from other clients and just my reputation. I haven't had to rely a whole lot on social media. I keep up with it because I do think that it is not so much now, but when I was offering social media, I felt like my social media was a really good portrait of what I could do for them. It was my portfolio, but I don't focus on it a lot anymore. I don't have the time. I had to prioritize what was more important. And for me, it was emails, connecting, and networking and building those connections elsewhere.
I know. Well, and I always tend to, and I'm sure you do the same thing. I always put my client work way ahead of mine because I want to make sure their stuff is getting done.
Yep, I've been there. And then you got to remind yourself though that you got to take care of your side of it too,
Hmm.
for that money to come in because if you ever are needing another client, there's a balance. It's crazy. It's not easy.
Mhm, mhm. Well, I want to back up just in case someone is not 100% sure what cold pitching is and what actually makes your approach that you've done different from the typical copy and paste scripts that we
Okay.
see online. And I know you covered this in the training that you did with Heather talking about your
Mhm.
process for cold pitching. Do you want to just touch on that a little bit?
Yes. I guess just to start, I'll be technical for a minute. The technical term is cold pitching is a strategy where you reach out to potential clients you don't have a relationship with to sell your services or pitch a collab. That's the technical term. But for lack of a better way of describing it, it sounds so cold to me, and I don't like cold. And I think that is what is different about my approach is I try so hard for it not to be cold and not to be step 1, step 2, cut and dry, because I guarantee you for your one email, they are probably getting 5 to 20 more. And I bet you they're going to sound the same way if you don't make yourself different. So I focus on connection and authenticity. And I think a lot of that is lacking in social media. And that's why I don't focus on social media. It's fun. I do see some authenticity, but I think people are forgetting that we live in a world where connections and feeling like you get somebody or you understand somebody is going to get you so much further than one story or one reel or one TikTok that takes off. My first thing that I always do is I send out a questionnaire and I get to know the person that I'm working with. And I try to make my research and our crafting of their emails and their messages that they may send out to DMs, like on social media and things like that, is all them. What I want is I want somebody in their family or a close friend to read it and not know, but know, oh, this is theirs. I know that this is theirs because I want it to sound just like you. And so the first thing we're going to do is craft that email and focus it on what is your thing? What is your one thing about you that is going to make you different or stand out against everybody else? And I go back to the email I sent Heather. To some people, it would have seemed pathetic. And maybe it was. But then I think, okay, but it got me one answer out of six. And that one answer was enough. So I try to remind them not to worry about sounding, and I'm not saying you have to give a sob story because some people that'll automatically turn them off. But Heather told me later, and I think she mentioned this, I can't remember if it was in her membership or on the course that we did together, but she mentioned later that the whole thing that caught her attention was the part where I mentioned I was a single mom because she was raised by a single mom. So you never know. Like you have to own who you are, own your beliefs, own your morals, own what matters to you, because then your people, the people that you want to work with, they'll find you. And I think that you also need to remember when you're pitching yourself to only pitch to people that you fit with. Don't even waste your time pitching to somebody that you would not want to watch their content, read their stuff, listen to their podcast, whatever, because it will be a waste of time because it'll come out in your email that you really don't care about their content. And that's going to be an automatic no.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And when you say like how many emails, yeah, I'm not even sure. I at least get 20 emails a day from people asking, and they are pretty similar. Some of them will catch me and I'll be like, okay, well, that one's interesting. But yeah, majority of them all sound exactly the
And
same.
I try not to start off with a pitch. Like, don't start off with telling them what you want from them. Like, you need to be clear, very, very clear about what you're offering them. But start off with your connection start off with a compliment. Like show them like that you really are watching their content. Like, tell them that you loved episode 420 of their podcast and tell them why, because that's going to get their connection. Because they're tired of automatically everybody reaching out saying, give me your money, I want your time. And it's cold. And that's why I don't like the word cold pitching. I'm going to work on finding a better name for that because I don't like it. But you don't want it to be cold. You don't want your cold pitching to be cold.
Oh, absolutely. I completely I agree. I can relate because it's just and I'm to the point where now it's just too hard for me to even get through any of those emails or read them. It's just like, okay, just another, just another. So,
Same thing. They just want something from, yeah, it's just,
mhm.
yeah.
Do you have then a simple pitching system that you look at for someone who's trying to balance all the work that they're doing for maybe their clients, for their family, everything that they have going
Mhm.
on that can help her to put herself out there? Because it can be scary and hard.
Yes.
it's hard because you feel like you're getting maybe rejected or told no in at some point, and that's hard sometimes to feel that way.
Yes, especially the ones that are just starting out and they're not used to the rejection. Because I don't want to say you ever get used to it, but I guess at some point it kind of gets a little easier. But if you aren't at a point where you can budget a course or having someone do it for you, what I would recommend so that you do not feel overwhelmed is start small. Start with a goal, like one goal, like just landing one podcast or landing one collab or whatever it is, or one client for a month. Just start small, because if you start with this huge, huge goal and you don't land it, because you're most of the time you're not going to land it in your first month, you're going to feel defeated. So start small and build. And I would just start with 15 minutes a week of researching who you're wanting to pitch to, what works for you, your ideal audience. And then 15 minutes a week of crafting that perfect pitch or that perfect DM. And then only 15 more minutes of following up. So that's only 45 minutes if you think about it. And I know 45 minutes can seem like a lot when you are really on a tight schedule. But like if you could do 15 minutes of research on Monday, 15 minutes of crafting on Wednesday, and then 15 minutes to send your email out on Thursday, because I don't recommend sending out emails on Friday. I don't. They are not going to get read. And Mondays aren't usually going to get read either, because they're trying to catch up on whatever they got on the weekend. I would always try to do like a Thursday or a Tuesday. Wednesdays sometimes, if they're like, I know this sounds terrible, but some people go to church on Wednesday, so you got to think about that too. So you need to think about that sort of thing and what your audience is and what they're doing. So again, it comes down to research and knowing who you're pitching to and knowing about them. To make it even easier, what I would do is what I did with Heather. We all have those emails of the people that we look up to or we really do love. And the first thing I would do is actually pick a podcast or a newsletter of somebody that you actually love and you're actually consuming their content. Pick somebody that you've followed for years, and you might think they're never gonna. But if they've seen that you've been on their list for, a year or 2 years or 3 years, they might answer you. You never know. So to make it easier, I would just start hitting reply. And because that's what I did. I got an email from Heather, one of her weekly newsletters, and I hit reply. Just hit reply to one of those and tell your story. Throw out your pitch that you've been working on and see what happens. And just start with a few a week, like maybe 2 or 3 a week, and see where that goes, because that's a good place to start. And then of course, organizing it. Create yourself a spreadsheet or something like that, because the more organized and the more notes you can take along this journey is going to help you learn what worked and learn what didn't and tweak it as you go along.
Absolutely. And the thing that I like to remind myself when I do like a scary thing, like when I reached out to Heather, I did it because I was very interested in knowing more about Pinterest because I use Pinterest. I don't know if I use it that great, but I'm like, well, you never know. Maybe this is something that she's praying for herself. Maybe she wants to have somebody else that's on there. And plus she also had like, contact me for these speaking things, which I think is nice as well because she
Mhm.
actually has on her web page. And I'm going to guess that maybe that was one of the things that you helped her with, the speaker page. These are the topics where I could cover. And I was like, okay, so she's actually willing to be in
Yes.
collaboration as well. So depending on some of the things you're doing, that might be a place that you see things where people
Yes.
might have.
Yeah, if you once you start landing stuff, that's one thing we
Mhm.
did create with her, is a media page, and where she got to put together everything, because she had people starting to reach out to her, and not just through my emails that I still send out for her. I send out like 12 to 14. But now she has people that just reach out. And as you're growing your portfolio, that's when you can start making sure you add that into your email, like I have spoke on here, and make sure you add the links and the names of everything you've done, because then they're like, oh, this person is real. This person's legit. This person is not just asking for this. This person's got real backup that she knows what she's doing, or he knows what he's doing. So you definitely want to start growing your portfolio, your media file, your speaking page, whatever it is, depending on your focus.
I'm curious what you have to say about this because I know before I actually sent that email to her, like I prayed over it for a long time. So I had that like email draft sitting out there for that woman that was just like me that had the email draft, maybe the DM that's all typed up, but they're just hesitant to hit send or to actually put themselves out there. Is there advice that you have to get over that fear that they may have to actually send it and reach out?
Obviously, if you're somebody that believes in prayer and that, pray about it. But there's also a time I think that you're, for lack of a better way, not to sound harsh, but it is going to sound harsh, you're just going to have to do it. You're just going to have to take that leap. It's funny because now I craft these emails and things like that, but the email I sent Heather, I literally sat down and typed it out in 10 minutes. I'd probably read over it now and go, ooh, 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 and look at all my grammar mistakes and like, but I think what it was and what she told me that got her attention was that it was authentic. It was true. It wasn't, she could read it and she felt it. So you want to be organized and you want to be prepared and you want to be businesslike and you want to be professional, but you also got to remember that you're going to have to keep taking those leaps even when you're not comfortable doing it. And you also have got to remember to put yourself in that email, you know? Act like it's a friend. You still want to sound professional. I'm not being like, don't say, "Hey, girl, what's up?" But you talk to them like they get you or that they understand you,
Mhm.
because that's going to get you far. But you're at some point you're just going to have to hit send. And I know that sounds terrible because I wish I had a magic solution. But look at it this way: you're either going to get a no or no response or a yes. No response. Yeah. The no's actually kind of sometimes where they respond hurt more than like a no response because then it's kind of like, ugh. But think about it this way: they took the time to respond. So they must have felt something because I can't tell you how many that I don't ever respond to. I just hit delete. Like they had to have felt something to even take the time to say, not right now. This isn't for us, because I guarantee you they don't do that for everybody. I
Mhm.
guarantee you. And you are going to get that yes eventually, and you're
Mhm.
going to get more yeses, and it's just going to keep going if you don't give up, because it's all about consistency. It's about consistency. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Everything is about consistency. The things that you're more consistent at, it gets easier to do, and you become more of an expert every single time you try and do something. I'm gonna guess that Heather's story is a pretty big open the door for you type of thing, or
Yes.
actually open your eyes to, hey, maybe this is the business that I should actually be pursuing.
Mhm.
But do you like have one where you're like, oh my goodness, it was such a flop and this is what I learned from it?
Yeah. And what's funny is she's a client now. In 2019, I reached out to somebody that was, and I haven't talked to her about dropping her name, so I'm not going to drop her name. That's one thing I have learned you have to be very careful with. You need to get permission ahead of time. So that's just a legal thing to remember. But I reached out to her in 2019 thinking just to do her social media or something. But I knew at the time she's big. She was one of those that was on my like, yeah, right, dream. Like, I encourage you to do those. I do. Heather has one, and we've landed one on hers. And she texted me and she was like, "I can't believe you sent this message out." And I was like, "Well, did you get it?" And she was like, "Yeah, but I can't believe it." So she
Mhm.
didn't even know I sent it. I just did. And it ended up being great. So 2019, I got a response and it was like, "Oh, we like to work with somebody that has a little bit more experience and da 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 da." 2021, I worked with another client on her social media, and after about a year, she needed to take some money out, to rebudget a few things. And what my services was something that let go. But I adored her. We left on good terms. Earlier this year, she had given my name to the other client that I had originally reached out to in 2019. And she goes, "Oh, I remember that name. I think she has reached out to me before. Yeah, let's get her in here for an interview." And I have been working with her since March of this year, and
Oh,
I'm still on her team.
that's fun.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's those things where I felt very defeated at the time, and I felt like maybe I messed up by jumping the gun, knowing that I had only had two clients. I'd only been working for about 5 months, 6 months, and I beat myself up at the time, thinking, I didn't have enough experience. Why would you do this?
Mhm.
But again, it led me where it was supposed to. So I recommend, like, especially after you've been doing it for a while and you get some yeses, maybe sending out one of those big ones where you don't think it's possible because they're just, they're too out of reach, or that just you don't think it's happened. Send one out like every month or every 2 months, because you never know. You never know. Imagine
Mhm.
if you landed one and you're able to
Mhm.
put that on your media page or
Oh,
no.
absolutely. Sometimes when you do get the response back, It might be a no at the time, but you just never know because it could come back up around and it's not a no, it might be a not yet.
Yes. Yes, I like that better, not yet. Like, and I didn't even, I hadn't even thought about reaching back out to her. But
Mhm,
again, it just a client that I had had for a year was friends with her, and she threw my name out there earlier this year.
mhm,
I could have reached back out to her. I mean, that's one thing. That's why I recommend, keeping lots of notes and making sure you have your who you want to circle back to. Because, like you said, especially if they do respond to some of your emails, if they take the time to respond and they say no, look at it as a not yet because they might need you in 6 months or a year or whatever. You never know. Like it's worth reaching out. It's worth circling back to those few every few months.
okay, is that kinda like your recommendation or the process that you follow is, like, every couple months, you'll follow up with someone
Mhm.
again?
I try to leave like a 2 or 3 month window. You don't
Mhm,
want to bug them, but I also try to nurture relationships in between. I know like with Heather, she's done a lot of summits and things like that, virtual summits and things. And if there's people that she gets to meet through that, we add them into a list, but we don't necessarily pitch to them right away. We just start checking in on them and
mhm,
building a relationship with them. And then we'll pitch to them later on because we can say, hey, we've been get to know each other, but also you remember that summit we did so and so, so and so, and there's that connection, like she's hung around, she's checked on us, she's supported us, and we worked together before, and then
mhm,
we can throw in that pitch. So it really all comes down to just networking and making them feel important, but not in a fake way, because people are going to feel it if you're being fake. That's again why I say don't reach out to people that you would not and or don't eat up their content. Like
mm,
you need to enjoy who you work with. That's one thing. And I know you can't always be picky at first. I couldn't be at first and I was trying to offer every service in the world even if it wasn't something I like to do just to make money for my family at the time. So I know you can't always be, but I'm blessed enough right now to be in a situation where I can be a little bit more picky. And I think if you have the same goal in mind, you become more like friends and you're working together, but it's not always about working together. Like you have that same goal. Like I want my clients to succeed in their business just as much as I want to succeed in mine because I believe in what they do. And I think that's huge. And it comes
mhm.
across in what you do for them.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with that because I've worked with people for clients in the past where I knew when I was in the discovery call with them, I'm like, I think I have some red flags here. But I said yes, anyways, because it's like, I feel bad when I know I can help somebody. But now I'm starting to, now I know, trust my gut. If I
Hmm.
feel like the red flag is there, I'm not the person for them, and somebody else will fill that spot much
Yes.
better than I will.
And I think you'll understand this what I'm about to say too is like you're going to feel stress in any job. Like when you have timelines, you're going to feel stressed. But if you're feeling stressed just when you have to reach out to a client because you don't look forward to communicating with them, that's a huge red flag. Because that's not just the everyday stress of just making sure I do my job right and I meet these deadlines. That's you don't even want to talk to this person really. And that's a huge red flag for me. If I don't feel like comfortable or if I get like anxiety having to the thought of reaching out to you because I don't know how you're going to respond or that's not who I like to work with and you have to protect your peace is what I've learned and it's not always the easy thing to do but you have to protect your peace.
For sure. Because that uncertainty and those feelings and those emotions, I mean, when you're done at the end of the day, your family can pick up on that if you're not letting it go. And you want to make sure that you have that peaceful environment all around you. Okay. I have just a couple more questions. What's one pitch that someone that's listening today could send this week to help grow their visibility? Do you have any recommendations to dip their toe into it a little bit to give them a little more courage to be able to do something a little bit bigger?
Again, I think what I would do for that situation is to go to your email lists. Who's somebody that, you've had emails from them, you've been on their list for a very long time because you already know their vibe, you already know their audience because you are their vibe, you are their audience, or you would have unsubscribed to them a long time ago. That'll give you more confidence if you know who you're writing, who you're emailing, and just be honest with them. Honest about what you could offer them, honest about why you love them, why you've stayed on their newsletter, and just start that way. I know I've said that before, but that would really be where I would start, is just looking through your emails and looking through the people you respect, because you know them, you're their vibe, you're their audience, so it should be easy to respond to them. And I say easy very lightly because I know it's not easy, that first email especially, but I mean, it's a lot easier than just starting with somebody you pull off the internet. This is somebody you hear from once a week.
Absolutely. Not everybody does, but some people do offer to do coffee chats as well. That's always like an opportunity,
That's a good
to
one. And I have not thought about that, but that is a very good thing to do too, is look at the ones that offer coffee chats. You could also look at the ones that have like their Facebook groups. If you aren't ready to start sending that first email, there's those public Facebook groups, because that's where I did a lot of looking for clients when I first started, was Facebook groups. Just going in there and making yourself an expert. Answer other people's questions. Show that you care, and your name will start getting seen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Then, Lana, where can people actually go, our listeners go, so they can learn a little bit more? Do you have like templates at all, pitch templates? I know that you do monthly support as well as you do, it's not like a do it yourself, but kind of where you set up or do a little bit of that research for them and
Yeah,
give
I
them.
do like an initial setup and then I hand it over to them. Yes. Okay, so I haven't gotten any of my templates out for sale yet because they're still available to anybody that does the course. The course is still available too, and I think I shared it in the links. It's $47 if you have that in your budget. If you don't, I get it. But it does, once you take it, you're given like different options for setting up your system, like
Mhm.
Google Sheets, or I think we included ClickUp, and Notion, I think, was included in there. So you would get those options with that. And you would get some basic templates that I have for your emails, pitches, and your DMs. So that would be something you could do if you just had a budget for $47 to just get you started that way. And you
Mhm.
can reach out to me. I do not mind answering questions. My email, my website, whatever, reach out to me. I love answering questions, even if you don't buy anything from me. I love talking to people. And I get some of my best inspiration from talking to others, whether, they purchase anything or not. But then I also have the one where you have the monthly services, where I do everything for you. I set up your system, I do your research, and I send out usually 10 to 12, 10 to 14. It depends on, once we do our discussion and questionnaire, emails a month. But again, if you don't want to do the monthly, but you have enough money to invest for like a 1 month, I would set up your system. I would set up your new bios. I would help you set up any media pages that you might already have, if you have any, that you can go ahead and start selling for people, like, or pushing out there. Some people don't. Some people are starting at bare minimum. They have no media. They're just, they're starting. So, but I will help with your bios and drafts. I'll give you templates for emails, for email 1, 2, and 3, because I do 3 emails. And then I also have a circle back email that is included in there. DM templates. And then I even give you 30. I research and I give you 30 places of people to start with after you give me your questionnaire. So you'll get 30 people that you can start sending emails to. And you'll get your system that is just, you're plugging in information. I'll show you how to do it. We'll do a Zoom call or whatever, and I'll set you up. And then I pass it off to you after 30, after the first month. But I'm still available for questions. I'm not gonna like drop you after that. Be like, good luck, peace out.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
we can still have discussions and I can still help you through that. So you have those different options. You have monthly options. You have a one-off, where I set it up for you. You have the course. But again, my blog posts, I have some in there about cold pitching and just little tips in there. But reach out. I don't mind answering emails. I don't mind helping, because I know that everybody, especially right now on the holidays, is on a tight budget, and I get it. But if somebody can just, help you along the way, I mean, because if I could pay it forward, I am going to, because if I hadn't had some people that reached out and helped me along the way, I wouldn't be here. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. We all have to help each other along the way, don't we? For sure.
yes.
Well, wonderful. I will go ahead and put all that information down in the show notes so that people can just click on the link and take you to your website and to that course as well. Is there anything else any additional information, something that I didn't cover at all or ask you about today that you would just like to leave the listeners with before we go?
I think that I would really encourage you to look into cold pitching and how it could stand, how it could work with you, and whether it's paying somebody to do it or you just taking the advantage on your own. Because I think so many people get sucked into social media and needing that large, huge, large audience, like on On TikTok, it's you got to hit that 10K or you don't get all the options available to you. And I think people forget that a number doesn't really matter because you could get to 10K, but if none of them have authentically connected with you, they're not going to be there to support you. So 10 people that will be there every time you need you is going to be so much more than 10K that don't watch any of your stuff or don't want to support you. So I just encourage you to use cold pitching or whatever it is to find your people because they're going to show up for you. And it's not always about the numbers, it's about the connections and being authentic and being who you are because the right ones will find you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with that. So, well, thank you so much for being
Thank
on the show
you.
today. I appreciate it so much. It was fun to actually, because I was
Yeah.
on that side, like when I was working with you for having Heather on the show, I think a couple months ago.
It was
It was,
fun. It was full circle for me. And I was like, who would have thought, almost 2 years ago? It's so neat. And I've
Mhm.
enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're
And
welcome.
I end every single show with thank you so much for listening all the way to the end because not everybody does that. I appreciate you and I hope you make it a wonderful week.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay! Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found this episode valuable and learned some actionable tips that you can implement in your business so that you can feel accomplished and less stressed. If you enjoyed this show, please take a quick minute to share this with your business bestie, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps me reach more business owners just like you. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please reach out to me on my website. I've created a form just for you. Remember, with the right system and mindset, you can achieve the success your heart desires. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to chatting with you next time. I appreciate you and I hope you have a wonderful week. And don't forget, let's grow, friends.